to SecretSpool. This is Twisted Tale Wednesday, and my name is Mara. Tonight's story begins with silence and ends with a question no one should ever receive. Where do you sleep? Take a breath and listen closely. They say you don't choose the house. Sometimes the house chooses you. When I first moved into the duplex, I convinced myself I had found a little pocket of safety. The rent was low, the block was quiet, and the neighbors left you alone. That was the kind of quiet I wanted, the kind that makes you believe you're starting fresh, invisible in your own small corner of the world. The duplex wasn't perfect, of course. The paint was peeling, the back door squeaked every time I closed it, and the lot next door was nothing but weeds behind a chain-link fence. But none of that bothered me. I thought cheap rent, privacy, peace. That was the trade-off. What I didn't know was that peace can trick you. It can make you ignore the things that matter most. A week in, I noticed him, the man across the street. At first, I thought nothing of it. He stood there at different hours, hands buried in the deep pockets of a long coat that made no sense in the heat. He didn't check his phone. He didn't read. He didn't even pretend to be waiting for someone. He just watched the block, watched the houses, watched me. I told myself stories to explain it away. Maybe he was harmless. Maybe he was lonely. Maybe he belonged to someone else's problem, not mine. But then I started hearing things. It was humming, faint and broken, like someone trying to remember a song, but only catching pieces. It reminded me of a lullaby, not the comforting kind, but the kind that makes you uneasy because it feels wrong in your bones. Once, I heard my name whispered outside my window. In broad daylight, I froze, knowing only he was out there. Then the note started. The first was just a scrap of paper with my full name written in neat block letters. Nothing else. I should have reported it. I should have told someone. Instead, I taped it inside a kitchen cabinet like a secret reminder that I wasn't imagining it. I stood there for longer than I should have, cabinet door hanging open, staring at that piece of paper. Why my full name? Not a nickname, not initials. My full name, written carefully, like someone had practiced. I thought about all the people who could have known it. My landlord, the neighbors, maybe someone who overheard me on the phone. But the more I thought, the fewer explanations made sense. That's when the real weight set in. Not fear of the paper itself, but of the silence around it. Who wanted me to know that they knew me? And why say nothing else? That's the thing about fear. It doesn't always make you bold. Sometimes it convinces you that silence will protect you. Sometimes it tells you to shrink small enough so the danger loses interest. But it didn't lose interest. The man started showing up in places I didn't expect when I left for the bus, when I carried trash out at night, always just far enough that I couldn't make out his face, always there, silent. I began locking every bolt at night. I checked windows twice. I told myself I was being careful, not paranoid. Then, one morning, I found my toothbrush moved to another cup and the toothpaste cap lying open. My mom said I was overreacting. But I knew what I knew. I scrubbed the sink raw, but the unease lingered like grime you couldn't wash away. That was when I bought the baby monitor. I wasn't hunting for peace of mind. I was hunting for proof. Proof that I wasn't losing it. Proof that the wrongness had roots. I set it up, streamed it to my phone, and went to sleep with my phone under my pillow. At 2 in the morning, the monitor pinged. On the feed, I heard it clicking, a steady, deliberate tapping like nails against glass. I sat up, heart punching my ribs. The screen showed a scrap of paper taped to the banister outside the stairwell. I opened the stairwell door with shaking hands. The note read, "I see." That was the moment something shifted. It wasn't just strange anymore. It was personal. Days later, a voicemail came from no number I recognized. An old woman's voice whispered my name and recited a street I had only told one friend. My phone battery drained twice in 2 days. Even the new batteries I bought came dead out of the package. That's when the world started to feel rigged, like the rules I depended on were being rewritten by someone else. Then came the drawings. At first, they were messy scribbles on junk mail left on my porch. Then they became detailed sketches of my living room, the couch, the lamp, the rug where I usually lay down. One drawing even captured the scuff mark on the arm of the couch, the one I made when I dropped my keys. Whoever was doing this wasn't guessing. They were watching. From then on, I started noticing sounds I'd never noticed before. The wind against the fence in the empty lot, the creak of the stairwell at midnight, a car idling too long at the corner. My brain cataloged each one, asking, is this normal? Or is someone keeping track of me? Even the silence became suspicious. There's something unsettling about realizing your home, the place you're supposed to feel most safe, might also be the stage where someone else writes the script. Every noise was a footstep. Every shadow at the edge of the curtain became a figure. I slept with the lamp on. I covered mirrors. I stopped checking my mail at night. I kept telling myself maybe it wasn't him. Maybe there was some other explanation, but every time I looked outside, he was there, waiting, watching. Last night sealed it. I woke to tapping on the smaller kitchen window. I checked the peephole. He was in the street, head bowed, staring at something in his hands. When he lifted his head, I saw his eyes for the first time. Gray, polished stone. Empty. When I cracked the door to yell, I found another note slipped under it. This one asked, "Where do you sleep?" That's not a question. That's a threat. I packed a bag and left it by the door. I left the monitor recording. I kept watching him from the window as his shoulders moved like he was laughing to himself. Now, I'm writing this because silence is no longer an option. If I vanish, remember my name. If I'm gone, check the empty lot next door. Writing those words down made me realize how quickly ordinary life can unravel. 2 months ago, I was excited about cheap rent. Now, I'm leaving notes for strangers to read if I disappear. That's the cruel twist. It doesn't start with something dramatic. It starts with little things you dismiss. A moved toothbrush, a note with no signature, a man across the street. If you're hearing this, take those things seriously in your own life. It's easier to roll your eyes at paranoia than to live with the regret of what you didn't act on soon enough. But if you're safe, if you're listening, learn something from this. Tell someone exactly where you sleep tonight. Text a code word to a friend. Lock your doors twice. Because once a stranger asks where you sleep, the details you ignored become life and death. Fear thrives in the ordinary. The note under the door, the hum you tell yourself isn't real, the man across the street you convince yourself doesn't matter. But they do matter. Every scrap of paper matters. I don't know what happens next. Maybe I make it to the car, maybe not. But I refuse to let this story stay only inside my head. Now it's inside yours too. So remember, listen when the ordinary turns wrong. Trust your instincts, because someone might be standing across the street right now, waiting for you not to. If that story chilled you, leave a note in the comments. A safe one right here below. Subscribe for more twisted tales every Wednesday. And tonight, before you turn out the lights, remember, sometimes survival is in the smallest details.